flying the plane right now?
Autopilot.
Oh, cool. Cool.
Hey you guys, what's up? Welcome back to another Conversations in the Cockpit. Today I have with me,
Daniel McGee, with Flyby Video.
yeah, and he is an FPV drone pilot, which is very cool. We're going to talk about drones and regulations and different things that people don't actually know about when it comes to like drones and stuff. Because you guys have to go and get tested in order to be a drone pilot, right?
Commercially, yes. You can be a recreational pilot, just flying for fun without actually getting a license.
Yeah.
But if you do any commercial work, you need a license.
Very cool. So how did you get into FPV drones and what was your first flight like?
COVID hobby.
COVID hobby. I love that. So many people get picked up COVID hobbies.
Dude, it was like I was a senior in college. I was doing everything on campus, and then all of a sudden I was doing nothing at all.
Yeah.
I found a drone crashed on a cliff in Hawaii.
Okay.
Got it fixed up as just a DJI Mini, but after flying it, I was like, okay, this is a cool perspective.
Yeah.
And then I discovered just on social media FPV drones, and it was the coolest thing I'd ever seen. So
That's
for like
awesome.
about a year, I was just learning how to build, program, and like fly these drones.
Yeah.
Probably one of the like technically hardest things I've ever learned, but like I was obsessed. There was no way I wasn't gonna figure it out.
Yeah, because it's hard to fly those things. Like I've just flown like a little like DJI Neo, but like actually flying like an actual FPV drone that goes like, how fast do those things go?
They can go over 100, at least the freestyle drones I fly.
Yeah.
Legally, I can't go more than 100.
Okay.
But they've
Legally
even
you
developed.
can, but have you?
No.
Well, no.
No.
No. Sorry. That's funny.
But they've even developed some that can keep up with F1 race cars. They're like rocket shaped. It's
That's
insane.
awesome.
So like 360 miles per hour.
Okay. Okay.
What's cool is like with the FAA has a waiver process, so you can get approved to like break any rules as long as it's approved by the FAA, and you operate within certain parameters that you set within this waiver. So it's nice that the FAA has some flexibility, recognizing like, hey, there's situations we can't account for, and it's not just like a rigid line.
Yeah, that's good. So for somebody who's only flown airplanes, what does flying an FPV actually feel like?
Top Gun Maverick.
Top Gun Maverick.
Like, it's the cool part is you're flying between obstacles, low to the ground. Like,
Yeah.
think Lord of the Rings when the eagles are like swooping over the ground.
Ah,
It's
okay.
that foot off the ground kind of flying that I'm absolutely obsessed with. Dodging between trees. I tell people it's like hardcore mixed with pod racing from Star
Okay.
Wars.
Yeah, that makes sense. It
It's just-
definitely looks like that when you watch the videos, like especially like the ones where you see they're going through like a warehouse or something like that. Those are so cool.
I threw some audio from like pod racing on top of a cave flight I did earlier this year.
Yeah.
So it was like flying between columns, like stalagmites in the cave,
Yeah.
adding like the pod racing noises. It was fun.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think the closest you could probably get to that in aviation is like crop dusting because they have to get low to the ground, and then sometimes they're going like in between like windmills and stuff like that. So, but even then, it's probably not. It doesn't feel like the same as like an FPV drone because FPV drones can just go so fast.
I can imagine when your life is involved, it heightens the feeling a
Oh
little bit.
yeah, oh yeah. It gets the adrenaline pumping a little bit more for sure.
It's what's cool is like since you're wearing a headset. So with FPV, you're wearing a headset, unlike most typical drones, and because you're wearing a headset, you feel like you're in the drone.
Yeah.
It gives you better like spatial awareness, a little bit more control, and everything is like full manual. So you're controlling
Okay.
how much thrust, how much yaw, how much like roll, everything like that. So you're very tuned into the quad, and I'm super ADHD.
Yeah.
But, like in those moments, I'm 100% focused.
Yeah. It's so funny how you can just like hyper fixate on something so much that, you know, you just get lost like everything else going on. What you were talking earlier, like one time you had to like make the shot while also like riding on like a four-wheeler at the same time too. So your body is experiencing different things, but your eyes are seeing something completely different. How did you kind of manage that?
Definitely those. I'm out in any situation. I'm trying to like figure out where the line is of like my ability, and I'll dial it back depending on like how confident I feel in my equipment, in my ability that day, in the weather. So like the wind is a big factor, and so I dialed that all the way back to like, all right, let's give everything like 10 feet of space because I could hit a bump and my fingers could do something crazy.
Yeah.
Even like during one of those, my headset like fell off and I quickly threw it back on. So it's just really dialing back the limits of how close I'm going to get to anything when I have less optimal conditions.
That makes sense. Yeah, because how much do those drones cost?
It's a range, definitely depending on size. My smallest one I fly for a lot of commercial work is $400. It's not crazy.
Okay.
I just flew one the other day that the drone itself was $1,600, which not crazy, but the camera on board was $4,000.
Yikes! Yeah. Because do you do custom builds or do you purchase them already made?
I've built some of my drones, but the truth is I need this to make a living, and I need to put my time into the most like cost-effective things. So most of the time I buy a drone that somebody who is good at what they do has built, and then I will fix, upgrade, tune, and like repair as needed.
Yeah.
But
what's the one brand that like most people use? It's like the FPV like headset. It's like called Fat something.
Oh, Fat Shark.
Yeah, Fat Shark. Yeah.
The Fat Shark like dominated with the analog system. It looks like 60s TV.
Okay.
DJI is really dominating even like the FPV world because DJI makes most of the main like standard drones.
Yeah.
They also make like the best video systems.
Okay.
So typically, a lot of pilots at this point have switched over to digital and are using DJI systems. But there's others like Walk Snail that's doing well in the HD world.
Wait, what's it called again?
Walk Snail?
Mock Snail? Walk Snail. Okay.
Yeah. I don't know if it's an
Why
extension
snail?
of Fat Shark. I could see them being the same company, but I haven't looked into it.
That makes sense. What are the biggest misconceptions people have about drone pilots?
So I feel like people's perception of normal drones is pretty on par. The hard part for me is explaining that I do something different than normal drones, especially in real estate. People are like, oh, you probably fly lots of real estate. I'm like, no, I don't. I don't at all, because every amateur who has a drone goes straight to real estate. So it's oversaturated with...
It's the easiest.
Yeah, it's the most obvious application.
Yeah.
So oversaturated with low-skill pilots. Nothing against them. We all have to start somewhere.
Yeah.
But even when I reach out to real estate agents, explaining like I can fly a drone through a building in one shot, and they're like, "Oh, we already have a drone pilot." And I'm like, "I promise, it's not the same thing."
What's been your favorite shot to make?
This might have to be like a top 5. This question's getting harder to answer.
Okay.
Diving down a mountain in the northern Italian Alps.
Okay.
Flying in a cave with lasers.
Pretty cool.
Flying in concert for my favorite musician, Connor Price. I'll keep you at top 3.
Top 3.
And then recently I was on a full feature film like this week, which was insane. It was like on a racetrack. It was dope.
Very cool. Yeah, you said you had a very expensive mistake this week, so want to talk about that, or is it still a little too...
I mean, emotionally I've accepted that, like with FPV drones, there's always a chance you fall out of the sky, so taking precautions to avoid any like safety risks is always important, and minimizing the chances of issues. But this one was a equipment failure. I think the battery basically ran out of voltage.
Oh.
Voltage dropped out, which means I have no throttle.
Yeah.
And unlike a plane, it does not coast at all. It doesn't glide.
Yeah.
So I was dropping down, needed a little bit of thrust. I was like 70% throttle. Just hopped over a fence was the goal, and when I hit 100% throttle, it gave me nothing back, so I just went straight into the fence.
I love seeing those videos where like the drone is dying and you see it going down and people are like running into the water to go and catch the drone.
So that's
so funny.
One difference between standard drones and FPV drones is standard drones will like land themselves if the battery gets too low.
Yeah.
FPV drones, they'll go until they can't. So definitely being mindful of voltage is important.
Yeah, because you could probably just like keep running it and then like not even notice, and then all of a sudden, boom, it falls.
Yep.
Yeah. In airplanes, we have something called best glide, which is like what we try to, it's the airspeed that we go to like as soon as like the engine cuts out. So, Yeah, we can coast for like probably like miles depending on what altitude we're at. Versus drones they just done. All right, so walk us through the regulations. What can and can't you legally do as an FPV pilot?
A lot of them are around flying over people, like flying around people, just safety reasons, obviously, and staying out of airspace that planes are going to be in. So legally, I can only fly 400 feet up. Like I said, with that tower back there, it's a 2,000-foot tower. I could actually go 2,400 feet above it, as long as I'm within 400 feet of the tower.
Okay.
So staying out of airplane airspace. If you're a commercial pilot, you can request LAANC approval, so automatic airspace approval within a 5-mile radius of an airport, or like the max ceiling drops down as you get closer to the airport. But it's nice that that's an automated system, so it's just like put in the request, it approves it, and then you're clear to fly. And now air traffic control knows that you're flying in that airspace.
Okay.
The other one is like flying over crowds. You can't fly more than a 250-gram drone over crowds without like prop guards, obviously being below the weight, and transmitting remote ID, which is like our digital license plate. Which recently I found out remote ID is a really polarizing topic in the FPV world.
Really? Okay.
I just made a video explaining how I do like remote ID on my drones, because it's not built in on FPV drones, and got so many comments trashing me.
Really?
For using a license plate.
Really? That's kind of funny.
I like didn't even realize it was an issue, but yeah, got a lot of crap for that. But hey, it's engagement.
Yeah. So every once in a while on our flight, we'll get like unmanned aircraft, and it'll be like a little like dash circle around it. Is that like when you like inform the FAA, is that kind of like what pops up?
Is it a moving dot, or is it just like a spot on the map?
It's just a spot on the map.
That's probably it then.
Yeah. Because I see them all the time, and I'm always like super concerned about them, and then so we talked a little bit about the recreational versus commercial, visual observer flying over people. Have you ever looked at a location and thought that would be an amazing shot, but you legally couldn't fly there?
National parks.
National parks, really?
Yeah. I thought for a long time the actual airspace was restricted over national parks, but it's actually not. The FAA just says all of the laws of the national park, and the laws of the national park say no drones without approval of the superintendent, which never happens. But recently I learned, like in the last year, if you're operating from private property, you can fly over the national park. You just cannot take off, land, or operate from national park grounds.
National park, okay.
So in West Virginia, New River Gorge National Park have actually flown over the park because there's so much private property scattered throughout.
Yeah.
You can just find somebody who lets you fly from their property.
That's awesome. Yeah, one place where I've always wanted to like have like a drone follow me is like while skiing down a mountain, but you're also not allowed to use drones at mountain resorts.
Really?
Yeah.
What's really cool with my job is like the coolest places I've flown are places I was hired to fly.
Yeah.
Because yes,
yeah,
like,
I think if you're hired to fly, it's completely different.
It's like people like, oh, where do you want to go fly? I'm like, everywhere else feels boring for just fun, because where I get to fly when I get paid is way cooler.
Yeah.
Like nobody's gonna let you fly inside their building unless they hire you.
Yeah.
But at this point, I've flown through like 10 of the bars downtown, which is just wild. And like the Adventure Science Museum is a kids museum with like dinosaur fossils, like planets, like a planetarium. It's really cool. So most of the places I'm not allowed to fly, I just try really hard to get hired by them, and then they let me fly.
I mean, flying an FPV drone through a museum is pretty cool. Very cool. What's the closest call you've ever had with an unexpected obstacle?
Usually the closest call is a crash. I don't think it gets much closer than that.
That's true, that's true.
A lot of times, like I said, I dial back my limitations depending on the space. So if I'm flying in like a construction zone where like they don't care, everyone's got a hard hat, all the all the heavy equipment could take a hit from a drone, or like a concrete manufacturing facility, they're like, do whatever, like you can't hurt any of our equipment. That one, I'll dial it in pretty close, because like the risk to anything else is almost zero.
Yeah.
But then other places, like if I'm flying over crowds, definitely dialed back. But I'd never lost a drone completely until one day last year in June. I lost 3 in one day.
Really, from the same job?
Yeah, yeah. I was
What
out
were you
in
doing?
Idaho with my cousin, who's a sheriff out there, and we were flying on water just to like capture the boat, like the sheriff's boat, and battery level hit too low for me to get back in time, and so I didn't get one of them back. The other drone I lost also in the water because it was a mechanical failure. The drone like freaked out. I think I caught some wind behind the boat, like freaked out and dipped. Fun fact, you can put a floaty on your drone, but if it doesn't outweigh the weight, like the buoyancy doesn't overcome the weight of the drone, it won't float.
Oh no.
And then the other one was like flying in a canyon, second largest canyon in the country, next to the Grand Canyon. And I was 600 feet down in elevation when my battery said, "All right, low battery." So I just didn't have enough juice to get 600 feet up to back to where I was. 3 months later, they did a search and rescue mission.
Yeah.
Just like a training exercise, and my cousin was like, "Hey, you should do it here, see if you find the drone," and they did. So 3 months later, I got that one back, and that was kind of a cool.
Yeah, that is a cool full circle moment right there. If a private pilot wanted to start FPV, what aviation habits help and which habits actually hurt? I think you've already talked about like, you know, setting limitations. I think that's like a big thing for private pilots to learn. Because a lot of, you know, like the first check ride is like, okay, what are your personal minimums? Do you know your limitations? Do you know what kind of weather you can handle and like wind levels and all that kind of stuff? So that's one thing that like I've noticed right off the bat.
Yeah, definitely recognizing your environment. Like, how are you feeling that day? Like
the I'm safe checklist. Yeah.
Yeah. How are you feeling? How's the weather doing? I don't know what other factors. Like, what are other factors that pilots have to consider?
We have to consider the aircraft. So making sure that like any recent maintenance needs to be, like the annual needs to be kept up with that, and then also you have to do your whole pre-flight. If you find anything on the pre-flight, you know, obviously you need to get that looked at, and yeah. So we have something it's called like the PAVE checklist. So pilot, aircraft, your external environments, and external pressures. Yeah. So like if you're going through a divorce, probably not a great idea to go flying as much.
Yeah.
For a lot of pilots, though, flying isn't like an escape. So I also understand it if you do, even if you're going through a divorce. But monetary pressures too. That's another thing.
That's helpful. I learned from my cousin who's a sheriff. He said like taking a tactical pause is what they call it before they like break into a building with the SWAT team.
Yeah.
I was like, yes, okay, I'm gonna add tactical pause. I'll probably add your acronym because that is helpful for like thinking about the different factors.
Yeah.
But other things I would say that transfer over is like pre-flight checklist, super helpful. Like there are 12 different things that I could forget that would make it so that I can't actually capture footage with a drone. So like if I forget an SD card, then I can't record. If I forget the action camera, I can't record. If I forget a controller, I can't fly. If I forget a headset, I can't fly. If I forget the drone, I can't fly. So there's like so many single points of failure that having a checklist
helps out with.
Yeah, because like you know how to do every single one of these things, but once it's more than 4 things, can't keep that.
Oh yeah, it's so easy to forget something. Like imagine like forgetting to put your gear up or something like that, and then all of a sudden you're flying slower than you're supposed to, and then you're like, why am I flying? Why is my ground speed at like 90? Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah. The little things you know that compile up eventually. Like there's going to be a gap. So pre-flight checklist definitely helpful. We do have to know. Like I had to learn METAR reports and sectional charts for my my drone license to take that test, and that was a headache. But I'm sure you know those really well at this point.
Oh yeah. I think so if you're a pilot, you can actually like go through like the FAA website, and then you basically just have to fill out a 10 question quiz, and then you get your drone pilot's license.
I have heard it's easier once I have that.
Yeah, it is easier. Yeah, but you probably know like a lot more about like airspace and regulations than like the average folk does.
Yes, and that's where like lots of people fly drones to make money, but like they don't actually know the laws.
Yeah.
And like the FAA is not chasing people down unless they do something really dumb.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
but like it helps to have your license because now you know where the line is, what you need to do.
Yeah.
So I tell people, like, even if you're not making a lot of money, even if you're not going to get into trouble, you should still get your license just because it makes you aware and helps you to be more confident in those spaces.
That, and you get a Niagara card that you can show off to people, especially if they don't know anything about aviation. They'll be like, "Oh my gosh, you're a pilot!"
It does.
Somebody did that to me when I was a student pilot. I was like, "Oh my gosh, you're a pilot too!" And then I looked a little bit closer, and then I saw that it said drone pilot. Yeah.
It looks similar. It doesn't have the watermark that I've seen on my friend's pilot's license.
Yeah, that guy tricked me with that one. I felt really stupid after that.
I do like to flex that one though.
Yeah. Me and my friends, we used to have this game where we would pull out like all of our licenses and certificates to see who had the most. But then somebody ended up losing their license, so then we stopped doing that after that. How has FPV changed filmmaking compared to helicopters or traditional camera drones?
I mean, it took it from a third person point of view, like an aerial shot, and allowed it to like enter the action.
Oh yeah.
So like what's cool is like you can drop from 400 feet down to eye level.
Yeah.
So like on a racetrack, 400 feet down to following the race car on the track.
Those shots are so cool
They're
too,
so cool.
because then you get to like you see like the whole like track, and then all of a sudden you're like in the action. So it's like bird's eye action.
But definitely it captures energy and it gives like a much more intimate point of view. Like you're in the environment, experiencing all those things, first person point of view.
Yeah.
It's the coolest thing ever.
Cool. Where do you think drone technology is headed over the next 10 years?
I'm gonna be honest. I might be out of a job in 4 years because of AI, but that's fine. I'm definitely more the mindset of like I don't want to hold back progress just so I can make a paycheck, but how do I get on top of it? So potentially figure out how to implement AI in what I do, because like there's already drone racing leagues that are fully automated. So like the test is not in the pilot, but in their ability to like program the drone to be able to navigate this environment. So I think that kind of technology will eventually be applied to what I do flying through buildings, where it's a more seamless flight path, it's lower margin of error kind of thing. I think also like even filmmaking, it's easier to like rig up like a floodlight to be able to film things a lot easier.
I don't think AI will completely take over your job. I think that there's still gonna need to be like that like human touch or human factor to things.
Yeah, I think it threatens it equally as to like any other industry. Like people still want real people.
Oh yeah.
I just figure if I assume it's gonna take over my job, that makes me more proactive versus like letting things happen
to be better and everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good way to look at it. So the one thing that pops into my head when you said like AI could take over, and like we were just talking about being in the action, like what if they had like drones just kind of like circling around like players playing like a soccer match, and like if they just look like little gnats like being in the action, like how much like that could like mess things up and stuff. So
honestly, that's something like you can't have 7 or 8 pilots flying around a field at the same time, because eventually you'd crash. Where if you had like one computer system with AI like tracking players, like you could actually realistically coordinate that well.
Yeah. Have you ever seen like those like big drone shows, like the light drones?
So one of my favorite clients actually hires me to fly for those shows and like record the actual shows.
Okay, that's cool.
Whenever I'm flying FPV for those shows, they actually will let me fly through the drones.
That's awesome.
Which is a cool perspective.
Yeah. At Oshkosh, they have like the big like air show plus fireworks plus the drones going off. So they attach fireworks to airplanes, and then these airplanes are flying through these drones at the same time, and it's just like it's the wildest thing ever.
That's awesome. Another application that drones are like getting big with is like military applications. I'm sure you've seen like Ukraine and Russia. I've seen the same exact drones I fly with RPGs duct taped to them.
That's crazy.
So unfortunately, that probably will bring more restrictions into my line of work.
Yeah. Yeah. Because then people are going to be like concerned, like, oh my gosh, there's a drone flying over my house. Like, what's it going to do?
Or even
valid, but also at the same time, like, come on.
Yeah. So even like right now during FIFA, we have a lot of teams staying throughout the country. So like Japan is staying in Nashville. and there's flight restrictions over these cities until like July 21st, like over a month, just because they don't want anything happening. So I can still get a waiver to fly in those zones, but I've gotten really good at filling out waivers because it's a very long flight restriction.
Yeah. It's kind of like us whenever we fly down to Florida. We always have to worry about the president at Palm Beach, unfortunately. Because there's always a TFR wherever the president is.
Actually, I have had to do one of those waivers for one of the drone shows that was in, like, I forget what beach, but it said presidential TFR.
Yeah, probably Palm Beach. Yeah.
Yeah.
What's one FAA rule every drone pilot should know?
If you're making money, you need to have a license.
You're gonna get some heat for that.
I think if people know it, they just don't want to worry about it.
Yeah.
And a lot of the FAA's rules, like, they don't have the manpower to chase down every violation.
Oh yeah, no.
It's a lot of rules that, like, once you make a mistake and you cause a problem, then they can hit you with that rule. But most of the time, they're not chasing people down.
Yeah. Did you know that in Alaska, a lot of the pilots aren't rated? So they know how to fly the planes, they're just not rated to fly the planes.
I knew it wasn't uncommon for, like, 14-year-olds to fly planes.
Yeah, so, like, the FAA, like, has, like, this kind of, like, bylaw where, like, if you've been in Alaska and have been flying and you have the experience, like, you could just get your license, basically.
They're like, you're gonna fly anyhow, you might as well just, let's get you in.
Right. This one's a funny one. Have you ever had a drone fly away?
I have not. Yeah, I've only had those three crashes in one day, but I've never had one actually fly away from me.
Is that possible?
Oh yeah, I've definitely heard of it. I think like the day after Christmas is National Flyaway Day. Because people are getting drones who don't know how to use them, pushing the limits, and then there it goes.
I mean, that's true. When I was playing around with a little DJI Neo too, it kind of got away from me, but then it came back. So like it has like the obstacle avoidance, and it like flew through these power lines, but it flew backwards through the power lines. And when it was coming forwards through the power lines, it was like, nope, I'm just gonna land now. And I'm like, no. Have you been approached by law enforcement while flying?
So I've been flying 6 years now because it's COVID hobby, and I had never had an issue with like law enforcement coming up and talking to me. Sometimes I'm proactive to go talk to law enforcement, but then 4th of July last year, there was a TFR over Nashville, and I was hired to fly for the fireworks show, which is super cool, like CNN broadcast using my drone feed. But the FBI comes up afterwards, special agent in charge of weapons of mass destruction and bioweapons in our region. And he was like, hey, FBI, who's the drone pilot? And I was like, well, that was me. And I was like, I think I did everything right, but you really don't know until they pull up your paperwork. And so they took about 10 minutes looking at my paperwork, looking at the waiver, and that waiver was filled out by my client. And so I was like, I really hope they did this right. But now I take, since that moment, I am definitely more intentional to make sure I'm getting all the paperwork covered and not getting my butt covered.
Yeah, trust but verify.
But actually now I do have a contact with the FBI, which is really useful.
That's awesome. They didn't approach you to come flying for them?
Not yet. I do hope that happens though. Actually, I met a former Secret Service agent.
Yeah.
Who is Tim McGraw's bodyguard.
Really?
Yeah. So I was flying for a thing with Tim McGraw, and this guy's talking to me, telling me all about his experience, and then was like, actually, they're hiring drone pilots for the White House. You should apply. And it's like, as cool as that sounds, I don't think there's any one job I'd want to do full time.
Yeah.
What I love about my job is like it's
freedom.
random.
Yeah.
I don't know what's coming up next. Like full feature film, flying around a tuna in an art gallery, flying a cave with lasers, because it's so random and sporadic, and I love it. And I wouldn't want to do any one of those things all the time.
Yeah, your brain never gets bored because there's always some new kind of challenge to work on. Alright, so let's get into the rapid fire questions. DJI or custom build?
Custom build.
Custom build? Mountain, city, beach, or forest?
Mountains, for sure.
Okay. Biggest drone you've ever crashed?
I have an octocopter that has 8-inch propellers. Sorry, had an octocopter with 8-inch propellers and a $4,000 camera on it that I crashed this week.
Oh, that was the recent one. Ouch. That's gotta hurt. What's harder, flying in wind or flying through tiny gaps?
I don't really know. It depends on how much space I have. I would say I am better at flying through tiny gaps.
Okay. What is like the max amount of wind that you can fly a drone through?
Well, my smallest drone can fly 30 miles per hour, so anything short of that, it's like, I mean, it's like I've had wind where I'm like tilted like this just to keep position.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
And with FPV, it's a fixed camera, so it doesn't have like a gimbal that levels the horizon.
Yeah.
So like you really feel when it's windy.
Ugh.
The hardest part about wind, usually for me, is like if I'm just flying outdoors, like I can accommodate the wind. But if I'm trying to fly from outdoors to indoors and trying to hit that door gap,
Yeah,
the wind is
because then the
constantly
wind
pushing
shifts.
me.
Yeah.
Or you have like hot air inside on a cold day.
Yeah.
You have like these gusts coming out the door, actively pushing you away from the door.
Yeah. Yeah, that's all Bernoulli's law right there. That's how airplanes fly. One place in the world every FPV pilot should fly.
Either Iceland or the Dolomites in Italy.
Ooh, okay. I agree with both of those. That would be awesome.
Number 3 up there would also be Norway in the fjords.
Yeah, okay.
So I've done one of those 3, but I'm definitely going to do the other 2 eventually.
Yeah, Iceland and Dolomites is definitely on my list of places to visit because, yeah, it just looks like so gorgeous.
I did it in the spring, but I want to go back in the summer when it's all like green.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for watching. I hope you like and subscribe. Also join the conversation in the comments down below if you want to answer any of my questions. And see ya!